All right. So we'll start with making a short mandala offering for requesting the teachings, and then Geshe will do a recitation of refuge and bodhicitta. All right. Oh, I can hear myself. Just a second.
Yeah,
I need to tone myself down. All right.
So opening our hearts with gratitude and humility, we offer a mandala to all our teachers.
Kangi tuzeni zone tawa tamje bambi se tambi khodam chela chance okay nima de chance
okay we got a discount today but it's okay it's a concession price
nimi thanda samdang gortase
la
thanda la samdang si kaji la
So we missed out on one recitation, but Geshe said that the main thing that we need to do is to think of the meaning. If you think of the meaning of the words, it doesn't really matter if you do another recitation or miss out on one. Most important thing is the meaning. So in this set of teachings, Geshe has been going over refuge and bodhicitta. So in reciting this verse for refuge and bodhicitta, Geshe has been explaining the meaning of the words and how they accord or correspond to the states of practice. So we often recite this verse for refuge and bodhicitta, refuge and divine enlightenment. And it happens that since we do it regularly, it happens that we start to undermine the meaning of, or underestimate the meaning of these words. We tend to dismiss that or sometimes to take it for granted. Geshe says that sometimes it happens to him as well, which is certainly not the way to go. It is a mistake to do it because when we do use this verse for refuge in bodhicitta, we need to give it some thought. We need to, first of all, recognize the objects of knowledge, the objects of refuge. As we go for refuge, we need to do that with a sense of trust in the objects of refuge. And in order to develop a sense of trust in the objects of refuge, we need to realize what their qualities are. Without understanding the attributes, the qualities of the objects of refuge, how can trust arise in our mind?
아니 디난기 딸 loktalaya chidangi loktala 타이브스토스 네 쪼도 자야디 아니 렌델 로버테 lokta 아니 키어마실 로버테 lokta 디코토스 나 레고레스 데리바.
So we spoke of this verse that contains the meaning of refuge and bodhicitta. The first two lines that go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly indicate the going for refuge. The last two lines that say, by the merits I create through listening to the Dhamma, or in the normal, this verse is rendered in order to correct the motivation at the beginning of the teaching session. But when you do your own practice, or when you correct your motivation by yourself in a certain way, you replace the third line with saying, by the accumulations I create through generosity and so forth. So when you replace the third line by saying by the accumulations I gather through generosity and so forth, now I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. It teaches us, first of all, the development of bodhicitta, the mind of enlightenment, but also the practice of the six perfections, such as generosity. So in previous sessions, Geshe explained the way to generate the mind of enlightenment. And also we started to have a brief overview of the six perfections. So we spoke of generosity, and now we're speaking of ethics, ethical discipline. And Geshe began speaking of ethical discipline before. So let's pick up with ethical discipline. So the most basic ethical discipline that we take up in our practice is ethics that abstains from the 10 non-virtues. So we abstain from 10 non-virtuous things, which are divided into actions of body, physical actions, verbal actions, and mental actions. Those are the things that we abstain from. Now, of this presentation of the 10 non-virtues, the last group pertains to mental non-virtues, and we have covetousness, malice, and wrong views. Now, in general, there is a whole range of wrong views that we can develop. You can say that there are infinite wrong views that we can have. But still, when you practice ethics in which you abstain from the 10 non-virtues, it's a specific type of, there are specific types of wrong views that you abstain from. The wrong views that you abstain from are views that deprecate or deny the working of karma, actions that produce results, and also wrong views that deprecate or deny the existence of past and future lives.
대단히 내가 차오이바도 가려서나 먼저 레기니 넘버 지치 아니 레기 용된디 조구여바다 니비 차비 아니 세구여바나 아니 균제기 톤 조구다스라 균제기 톤 인자 아니 레단 균제세 디 남자들이야 아니 샘팅 반 니바니바스는도 이치여 메나 아니 레니 남바지야기 톨레 드레드 백하고로스 더 백하고로스.
It is an important point because we want to develop the intelligence that can well distinguish between what is right and what is wrong, what is good and what is bad. And in order to investigate that, we need to understand the way that causality works. So causes and conditions produce effects. Karma is a subset of that, in the sense that karma actions produce their own results. So without developing trust in the way that actions produce their effects, it'd be difficult to develop this clear idea about what is positive and what is negative, what is wholesome and what is not wholesome.
예, 아니 그나 너스다 랭이 치고는 슬라운디 먼저 쩌당 지대 용자 레기 찾대야 뭐 우치비 아니 오늘 참에 그리다 상기 넘슬이야 엔 랭이 넘버 10 송디 베드 노르데 유마우 슈디어스라 난주 통들이야 따츠래야 쯔츠래야 레바다 야로츠데 캡상츠데 마우 슈지 경이 거지. 뒤에 포기한 림부에 소수기에 아니 세르블이야. 아니 경고 되기가 봐. 딘디차고 디지디기 먼저 때봐 야부치 마장바이나 아니 알당고 렉바 카인 거다. 아니 두바 카인 거디야. 신문도스라.
So we have that idea of good and bad, or wholesome and not wholesome. And we can begin with the idea of good and bad in the world. So we have in the world a certain idea of what is good and what is bad, what is wholesome and what is not wholesome. But then when you start to look at the ideas that we have of what is good and what is bad from a Buddhist perspective, you come to see that there are actually quite a few points in which from a worldly perspective, you might consider them to be good. Still from a Dharma perspective, you wouldn't perceive them in that way. In a sense that, for example, there are certain things in this life that could be considered to be profitable for you to do. But then when you think about it in terms of many lifetimes, when you develop that far-sighted vision, not just this life, but many lifetimes, it might be considered to be profitable in this life, but then over many lifetimes, it would be damaging. So then when we then look at ethics, particularly here, ethics that abstain from the 10 non-virtues, including abstaining from wrong views, we see that the type of perspective that we take could be sometimes different to the way that we perceive things in the worldly way.
예, 배낭한 주기 다 이게 가서 지단기 먼저 링기 셈이야 차마도 디 지피 착바다 아니 당화를 써봐 아니 지 나르게 젠삼지 너도 참로 지 소수 무슨 나오래야 아니 지 그걸 찾긴 소리지마도 디 아니 논술이야 뇌시지 맞지 망체 소리가 말았어 소통마다 상주라.
And just to illustrate that, we can look at states of mind that naturally arise for us in our mind stream. So we have anger and attachment, pride, jealousy, competitive with others. And it seems to us on the surface that we need those states of mind, that we cannot do in this life without having those states of mind. Or at least it seems to us that we cannot really exist without having those states of mind.
The D sem D and another assembly Katus level D survey and another assembly true yada assembly shede melosoya Dindichi the Yungudos the D hits a masse and it D Konochita Lunga Java culture D and it's Randa Shenlaya and it never charge model. Patient can be charged. You must see what those or the chagoros.
But then when you start to look at those states of mind, anger, attachment, and so forth, first off, you see that they are not in line with reality. They are mistaken states of mind. Not only that, they do not bring peace to our mind. They make our mind unpeaceful. But not only that, looking at the actions that they motivate, physical actions, verbal actions, anger, attachment, and so forth, motivate actions which are harmful to oneself and harmful to others. It's really difficult to see that actions, or to discover that actions which are motivated by anger, attachment, and so forth could be helpful. They're detrimental to oneself and others.
These are the dig and Sam Colon Senamudu, the dingy Tony, and a Lunga Chawachi, that dingy Chawadelea, Chitan, Lesegoris, Kanji, Sam Colon Chicheni, and it Lunga Namgir Tim Kaku, and Tuzetelea, Chavadelia, Lesegoris, so less added indigenous. The D will let Telia, and it Yawada do each Yaduni Yunguris.
So we speak here of karma. So we have a certain motivation. It motivates a physical or verbal activity, and this is what we call karma. That activity is what we call karma, which means that we have a certain mental motivation, and then it takes a certain expression, either physical expression or verbal expression. We call that karma or inaction.
That dig lay Chavad Dilaya Yadu chair to the and it Colon Tanjishan, Colon and Decha, Shedan, Chadota, touching ransom, Tinji Kunlamina, and it Chavadi and it Chavadi Chavaduaris. As the dig Colon dia, Nimud and Red Till Namen dia, and it Dunkark Cham Antiquachi Yungur Mother. And Tantibuchi, later penny, young menza, and lady led doer. And it not will letters like that. No, digitally, Zigoris.
And those actions are classified as either being positive actions or negative actions. So we spoke about the motivations of such actions. So the motivation could be anger or attachment or pride or jealousy or competitiveness and so forth. Then since such motivations are regarded as negative motivations, the activities or the actions that they promote become also negative actions, which means that the result of these actions will also be negative results. In that the ripening result would cause us some difficulty or problem. There would something that would not fit in, something that would not work out for us. We will experience suffering. So those type of activities are called in a variety of terms by the Tibetan language. So we call them negative actions. We call them dark actions or black actions. We call them non-virtuous actions or negativities.
Tilda le yagadi and colon di chardang chole manjeba, you know, and save samba, and pembi samba, raw, and she Karsota, Pena, Nota, Janyam samba, raw, but Dindiji Tommy, some of Dindiji con launching it, and in Luna Chachi, Luna Chadi, Ranchi, Nigalaya, Mandevach. Chavach Chetuach, Ingurs, he chawadlea, and it givilays. The devilaya, and it round the sheniga, and it devoyonach, Gisharanda, Colia, and it givilays, Carvilays, but Dindilagutus, rock.
So these are negative actions. Then we have positive actions, which are motivated by a sense of concern for others, loving concern for others, compassion, and altruistic intention, a motivation that recognizes the equality between oneself and others. So these are regarded as positive actions or virtuous actions. The ripening result of these actions is happiness or well-being. These are called positive actions. This is positive karma.
Is that Dinji and it gave the lesson and it lending Namja Pinji. Nini, Yomares, Tarashe Janis, Loskiwana, the D. Lendrel, Lopata, Lota Seti, Dichagores.
So we're speaking about it because you might have this idea that there's not such thing as virtue and negativity. These classifications of karma do not exist. That is a wrong view that is included within the 10 non-virtues.
다 디기 다 상로 디 가르카스라운디 비게 산지점된 디기 딱 모여 내속이 아니 먼저라 랍제 께샤기 아니 쳔남기다 뎀빈네루제 아니 지 도스탐로 아니 샘로에 조사 코란 메교르치 로다디 라 소셜 버스.
It is regarded as a non-virtue, as a wrong view, because if you think about it like that, and then you come to look at the Buddhist teachings, it will get you nowhere in terms of seeing reality. So if you think that, for example, actions do not produce their effects, there's no such thing. How can you reach an insight into reality?
인자다 지 게디빠만 제사기다 고르도 마스나 창산 까셔기연자 다 디체 마트나 다 깨원 준치니 차당기 상황이 아니 지 어디디 간간로 해도 지다다 간지 아니 난송의 끼 로데지 마타비기 아니 덴롤은 조야게 다 유커랑 까셔기연자 아니 삽침부이 버디 렌젤 로버데 로다디 삽침부이 버디 딘징 통 순고레스라.
And if you hold on to such a wrong view, then if you cannot put a stop to it, it is a type of thinking, it is a state of mind that will cause you to go repeatedly in miserable states of existence. Indeed, in that you will not be able to put a stop to anger and attachment. You will thereby also then continue to get involved in some negative behaviors because you would assume that your actions do not produce effects, which will keep you in a process by which again and again you will wander in miserable states of existence. And from that perspective, it is considered to be a serious wrong view.
데니다 다 깨왕하실 로버데 녹다세 다 깨왕하시다 네버다리 오 깨왕하시다디 안 저니 요마르세 로지다 이따 깨왕하실 로버데 녹다데리스.
Then there's another wrong view, which is denying that past and future lifetimes exist. That's another wrong view.
디 첼레디 반지다 렌젤 로버데 녹다데 차다지 첼레디 차르도스 타돈 다지 깨와 아니 깨와 치마스니 디 저인 네바이나 다 깨와 디sam도스 다 깨와 디sam이나 samlo 타야디야 깨와 디sam고 토야 samlo 타야지 모두 다 사메지 차고라스라.
The function of this wrong view is similar to the wrong view that denies the existence of karma. In that if you think that there are no future lives, the only thing that exists is this life, you can end up in the same situation such as the one that believing that karma does not work causes you.
디 로다 칸드스 차고레스 로다 칸드스 차고레스 깨와 나마 요르베 깨와 치모 요르베세 다 저디 딜레고 더러 다 딜레고라스.
So how does it become a wrong view? Do past lifetimes exist? Do future lives exist? This is what we need to get at.
다디 제단 쇼 아니 야가 키비기 쇼나올이야 아니 깨왕하시 지비기 지법마무슈지 라 지법마무슈지 코에스 이치디 깨왕하시 지비기 아니 지파 샤쇼원스 and this amas 깨왕하시 같이 아니 무슨 템바도 지레다 무슨 템바다 용초로스 지비 드무고와 피기라야 무슨 때야디야 베이톤다 용기어스로.
So then in approaching the issue of whether past and future lifetimes exist, a few approaches that you can take. One of them is to look at the scriptural system, the system of the classics, championed by great Indian masters that have explored this topic with recent analysis. So first of all, you can use a certain type of logic in order to investigate past and future lifetimes and reach a certain conclusion. But also that can be taught perceptually, that can be shown to you in a direct way. Like, for example, there are people that evidently have recollections of previous life. Sometimes you come across, for example, children that have vivid recollections from previous lives. So this is something that you could say can be shown to you in a visible way, in a perceptual way. Maybe if some of you here, or people that listen to us at home, have met some that have some recollections from previous lives. Have you?
Not personal.
Yeah, have you met anyone that has some recollection from past lives? Maybe you have?
Not personally, but I also know.
Yeah, you know people. 그런 책이 많아요. 이 기와가마 책이 무엇인지 요새. So do you have like a story that you can tell, or an anecdote of someone that can remember one of the past lives, or something from the past life that you can share? All right, you prefer not to share. Cool. Because never machine
Okay, yeah. Any nalang worship Jesus. Nalang worship tanda raja gomba.
No.
Raja gomba gi Geshe nansi tanda kona fish lo nishtatan lo nishu nizile da tuti. The COVID the chunjun konya ko koma Geshe ti tisha ju tepta sama ta kora and ko koma di jagete shiba. Kan shimba the curve, shirdusa, a mashi the Darasham. The kanji could sama shingota. And the Lord sama Jawarus the pure. Then the Kodus. Nima can jaja some question got that.
The tumble.
Maro Amdur. Amdur Raja.
Rabkekumba. There's one guy that Geshe knows or knows of. That has some recollection of past lives. So is currently in his 20s. He belongs to Rabgya monastery in the Amdo area in Tibet. And he has some recollection of his previous life being a Geshe. So he was a scholar. He also had some command of Chinese, and he has recollections of past lives. Like, for example, where his books were, what books he had, what kind of seat or throne he had, where his dwelling. He can speak about it, to tell about it in great details. And also there were specific things that he knew in his previous life, including the command of spoken Chinese. And he just had all of them at the tip of his fingers. So his account was collected together and was offered to His Honesty Dalai Lama.
Tenda Chidang the Riba Tindi Riba Chabu the song was Pandichuraki Semanam de Nomalaya. The Riba Chabu in the song is the thing on the shed in a Kazus Korean mission. Kanji and it gave him attending Yabadi Yaram's cousin Sonjil songs. Yahag and a promotion and Yaram some attending and most persons. The Taran and Nonzulaya can Chedan Chin, but Taran Jivatos Zedos Rock.
There are non-nation Amachin, Korana Korankora, like Yosa, and then Kaman in the tension in Damas. In Tambodik. So there are also a logical system that you can work with, reasons and logic, in which you can reach a conclusion with respect to the existence and past and future lifetimes. And such reasoned analysis was presented by Indian scholars such as Dhammakirti, who composed a text that is called in Indian language the Pramana Bhartika, the companion to valid cognition, in which he gave precise exposition of the analysis that can be used, put to use for analyzing whether past and future lifetimes exist. So that's one way that you can go with it. Another way is just those people that do have recollections of past lifetimes. I see that Kate says that she had them since a child, clear memories from numerous different historical periods. Guess I was wondering if you could share maybe one of them. If it's comfortable, if you can share, that'd be good. If it's not comfortable, that's also good. What do you reckon, Kate? Shall I speak or type? Speak. I can, oh yeah. All right, we can hear you, I think.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Good evening, Geshe. Good evening, Venerable Carton.
Thank you.
Yes, well, the most vivid memory that I have is from a couple of 100 years ago in early settlement days in Australia, living just near the Bath area in New South Wales. And it was a time when there was a lot of settlement going on, and there was also sort of boundary riders that they were sort of like police that weren't really police, and they just went round basically shooting people. It was the law of the land. And my husband was away, and I had several children at home, and they came over and shot all my children and me. And I've got a very clear memory of the garden and the trees that I was growing and where the house was. And I'm pretty sure I've met one of the children. He recognized me before I recognized him about 20 years ago. So that's the most vivid. Well, one of them. And there's a lot of details about the house, the fireplace and things like that. And it often comes up in my dreams. And I don't actually feel a sense of horror about the killing. I just remember it very clearly. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
나 저는 그런 그시 천셔디 또 니비아스 문나 인바레사 되게 오스트리아 나데 police 나데 일라 멜라데 여와 데 참삼 police 인발라얀 착바 쿠마데 치 여러 근타 그런 데스디라 캄바디라 데데 니시난 저번에 Quran tampo sama seshasa 근데 seshasa 네 되게 Quran Kamba mesos of tabdi some of the years boy and the curriculum 20 years that the law nisho's muna Quran nyama pogochi to sonsa Quran namsong moshima sonsa ne pogodi Quran moshin sonsa mo yeah pogodi Quran moshin does. So, Kate, you said that you met one of your kids about 20 years ago. Do you know where he is at the moment or what's happening?
Yes, I do. And he and I became very good friends. He recognized me, and when we were working together, we were both working in an art theatre company, and we just sort of stared at each other, and it's just hard to explain. We just instantly knew we were part of the same fragment. And we got talking, and he had very similar memories, and he had a lot of dream interference from it as well. And he was, oh, sorry.
So you still kind of have like a connection every once in a while. You still speak, or
Yes, yes.
죄송합니다. Niamo Koranim도 legatus cheyesa. Consote Jandunkai and Doha legajeni insa. Ko Milan Yamina Chemba did a double cheyesa. Shazandene Tandapadu. Only Pablo, it's not Koni Tanzan Kishi the years.
우리 공원시스라.
No.
우리도 계란이 기억하시고 기억하면 저 가르쳐는 레인 티처랑 하고 있어.
So then, since you have had some conversation with him, were you able to establish together with him that you had that connection from a couple of 100 years ago in some kind of relation? Is it kind of a mutual understanding, but also kind of a shared story that you have between the two of you?
Yes, he feels it very strongly. It's a very strong thing.
So kind of you were able to talk about the details and then kind of, probably reaffirm the scene and the different things that have happened, right?
Yes, he was able to draw some things as well. He's an artist and he painted some scenes that we talked about.
Yeah, the detail also Geshe insa. Dian Kuran Temba Chense Kari over the Kuran Rimoching in the Chidwa. And you Koni Pablayan, the Geshe, the young Konsunima Kamba Tanchala Dilasa.
그냥 마음으로 계란수 뒤집 수연을 년도 직선. 무연내서로다. 김지치. and 장투하나. 대립배 편도요 왔어.
Well, if you can document that later on in some way, either to film a conversation of the two of you or kind of to come up with just a written account, Geshe feels that it could be helpful in the future for others.
디레드네 먼저 기억하시고 또 주디 첸딜이야 람무거바 란싱 피싱데 직마무슈저라스 디 아니 금방 혼송지 떡기 용기여마도 아니 디 카실레요 모용야디 균진신요 말아스 팀지 좀 되나 아니 되나 미는자 전로비 아니 지 심지인자 아니 깨봤다 지 아메 뭐만 아니 동시야 써봐 로 지 아마라 쳐 아니 나서스 아니 가서다 자야 써봐 dim지 아니 dim지 공지 통이야 기억 한번 여봤지 조초거스
네, 지금 생각 돈으로 네 로봇이 제 돈을 듣는 신기한 되게 공전을 듣는 지시는. So thank you very much for that, Kate. Also, Geshe said, in thinking of past and future lifetimes, another reason that we can add to our contemplation is the habits that we have. So we have certain habitual tendencies that cannot always be explained through looking at how we acquired those habits in the past. So we might have manifestations of certain habits that came to us from previous life. We're habituated with them in previous life. So Geshe said that, for example, just the mere fact that we can do certain things as babies, like as soon as we are born, we can suckle milk from a mother's breast without having been taught to do it. So you can say that is attributed to habits that we had in previous lives. In my conversation with Geshe, I said that you can also explain it from a scientific perspective, how we have certain, you can say, instinct coded into our DNA and so forth, certain habits that develop. But still, from a Buddhist perspective, some of those habits are also connected with habits that we've acquired before. And since we have done it so many times before, that we're used to doing it. So this is one way of approaching it.
I had quite a vivid dream that I was some type of god, and we were going down to smash the demigod.
All right. So you had some kind of vivid dream in which you were God and you went down to smash some demigods.
Yeah, I was about it.
Yeah, you belted them.
Yeah.
Yeah. De la Corania, de la Milan, de several de those two songs. Little Koran high Kewach Ledwa. Nico large trouble and some young do. Hama in Chupache or doing some. Also, Tapa so inside.
Yeah, it's very tough.
Just gather the any under the heart of the scene.
Yeah, it could happen. Could be that. It's certainly possible that you were God before. You don't look like a God now, but it doesn't preclude being God before. Of course, that was said joking. And another thing, do you have another story on it? Or a question, if you have a question or a doubt?
I mean, it's Geshe Graham from the Lander. He certainly talked about this in the teachings I received from him there. And, there are books out that, there's a number of books out. I've read a few myself, the books that talk about this phenomenon of past lives. And, the Jewish, it seems to me that there seems to be a bit of a theme that people who had a violent death are ones that can more likely remember the past life. That's just a thing, not always, but, like I know one story that he told about that, he was killed in his abdomen, and he actually, in his next life, he actually had a scar there, a birthmark there, and he would always have this dream on what occurred at that time, what caused it, and so still experiencing some of the trauma from that past life experience. And I think it's fairly similar, common too, with the Jews, the Jewish people who were murdered in the concentration camps at, in
Europe.
That there's certainly accounts of them, more than one number of accounts about them remembering the violence of that time that they were.
The Franski Chuzola, Nolanda said, into Geshe store. So, Korean Ditola Geshe. So, Kyongachi Tembegi, Logi, the Tab Kashida Yorwa. Kashid in the Pembochi, Resa. Takurandi, Koran Yama Tab Kashid in the Danes. Halam Tan Kyong Amala, Shia di Shinan Sawachi June. And the Netsu then the Dugachi June, Shinan Sawachi June, and Nasa Jambuji June. Meeting so Chanshe Yaga den Dochi, Kashi Yogi Resa. And I meet you so tall, a chick yarny, and a chick shooting. Nasa Jambuchi, Tony Chondo. That Diratania, Kuran Kewa Chimalaya, Chola did Natsachi, the Yamina Machi, the chick, Tagdendo chick. Don't forget Charesa. Yama did the Logi di la Mirikash, and the Shitan di Senate, and the Shiwa in Naya, Konzo Garo, me Garo, then Kewa Mama ki Chenshik Garo, yes.
Did the Obelas,
No.
Hasn't said Delia, Lord, the shoot Chamboch, and jump to one, and it killed Jenny Pemberton, she was.
Well, there's some point that can be drawn from what you said. So you spoke about how if you die in a traumatic experience, that could have a bearing effect on your ability to recollect previous lives. So Geshe said that we're speaking about those states of mind that become very powerful. So similarly, if you think of developing really powerful, positive states of mind in this life, not traumatic, but other really strongly positive states of mind, we can create those powerful habits that will also have lasting effect in future lifetimes.
네 탭직 돈이다. 그것만 초리지. 탭디 나눠야 아니 남이 또 가시다 남이 디 파와디 그 파파장장 셈. 아니 디 종제 안 남이 그 같이 벤주 용고 쪼로디 아니 파파셈 아니 샤톤 종제 되겠지. 빠지你们这个也包虫你包的俺看出的拍背的阿妈这个呀给你讲到这里呀他就给面的不过差不多的俺包拍上了呀你有吧没那么大气手机也让差不多俺没那么的当时俺没那么的当那控制养的钱俺拍上了之后你拍出去me love him Geshe
read a story about a family man that was that had a pig business. He was kind of raising pigs, slaughtering them, butchering them, selling the meat in the market. So this is how he made his living. He passed away one day, and he was born into the pigsty that the family had. So as he was born during the night, the family members had a similar dream in which the father was reborn as a pig in the family's pigsty. So since they shared their experiences or their dreams in the morning, they went out to the piggery to check out what's happening, and they did find a new piglet with a human hand. True story.
I like that story. What have you heard about this?
Meeting on the turning something is right. One is heavy. One is the young Amachiglia, the Pomujda, Amachiglia, Pomuj, and Pomud the Tron, Amada, and Amad Chimbidos. And usually Amadi Melam Dachi. Karam Pomu, Yana roads and Kidley in those. It gives and Homati Ganga and the roads and Kidley here they use Amalia Monomotamba and imagine Amachina Rochen, roads and drone the any kids, Gurons and Amala, so Jai, the mixture dance.
Yeah, there was Geshe read this account in the book. Anyway, there was another story that I read in the book that taught about her mother whose daughter passed away. So she had a dream one day in which her daughter told her that she was born as a dog in Utaishan in China, the 5 Peak Mountain in China. So the mother decided to set out to look for her daughter. She went to Utaishan, to the 5 Peaks Mountain, and she did come across a dog who immediately recognized her, kind of was running happily towards her and kind of was even weeping as he jumped into her lap.
The kanji, the kanji, and the consul like the kanji kill Hamadan Chimaseti, you're the meg tolaya, and the what's on in Chimu.
Anyway, we have such stories, but the point is that when you approach whether this whole subject, whether past and future lifetimes exist, and you start to investigate it using the reasons that Geshe has presented briefly, Geshe feels that at the end you will be compelled to come to decide on that believes or that accepts the existence of past and future lifetimes.
I don't know. I guess I'll just quickly. What was the text that Dharmakirti?
It's called the Compendium to Valid
Compendium.
Cognition, or
That's
Pramana Bhartika in Sanskrit.
Nirnibad.
Yeah, that's in the second chapter of the text.
That's not my question. The compendium of the I can't write that other word you said. What did you say?
In Sanskrit?
Yeah, no, don't bother.
Okay.
Compendium is good enough.
Of valid cognition.
Yeah,
Of
I got that.
Brahmana.
I remember that.
Yeah.
I didn't get the first one. So my question for Geshe is, I think what people really struggle with when it comes to karma is that, why do bad things happen to good people? You have somebody in this life who have been very kind and wonderful mother, wonderful daughter, they've only ever been really, really kind and positive in this life. And then they end up, something really terrible will happen to them. And it just leaves people so confused. Why does bad things happen to good people? And, the karma just doesn't cut it. To say, they've been so positive in this life, but they still, something really bad will happen to them. And so difficult to comfort people or to explain that.
Tanega de Tawochi Karesina. Mikashi Kyoadila Semba Sambo Shiochi Chigiresa. Semba Sambo Mega Joa Yawosea, Ropachea, Dushamachea, Samlo Tantan di Yawo Imbalaya, Konzo Hoptakal Nesudin Ducha Shiochi Chigidosa. Jason de leg yumdetola Geshe the Geshe Gape Misibo Kalekaboresa. So Jetan is Yawo Kanga Imbala, Semba Sambo Lega Jetan Yawo Imbala. Jabo Pastor and Joe Duchama to Ninares. The Langum to this Chipola Waina, the Ratu Kalekabores, Nyogan. So Negan Yogato Chires.
Tadi nganzu les laundi led that so that kerang leres di Hamalaya jargodas kyo Hamalaya the kyo Ham leres di and it lech mato mevaina tan yoga sauros inaya lechik sego man tan nganzu kyo thoma mevani yonza and it kyo relaya and let hame sagoros the dig leg namin di sosi nyongors lavada ro ani jebukang to was rangi nyongo yanza that di can given di tolaya samba sambuche mela rovachi onkalaya and di togi can be namu sama ani dog to yach dia and send delay means and dot to it dear youngers.
Yeah, the problems when you think about karma stuff, we sometimes try to narrow down our thinking of karma to the things that we've done in this life, or maybe just one singular karma that we've performed in a previous life. So trying to narrow down karma in this way indeed creates problems for us in explaining the working of karma. But then when we approach it from the viewpoint of having been around since now with that beginning and up until now, and having done already so many different actions, we have performed myriad, uncountable number of actions. So those actions do not go to waste, and we do experience the results of actions that we have done before over countless lifetimes. So then, that being the case, it makes it much harder then to pin down or to pinpoint what is the actual action that have contributed to this situation in this life. So indeed, it is possible that someone has this really gentle and kind-hearted approach in the behavior. They have a kind-hearted behavior, good behavior in this life, and yet they experience a certain maturation of karma, but to try to narrow it down and to say that this is when this karma is performed is quite difficult when you think about it in terms of so many action stuff we have done before. But certainly if you then sustain a kind-hearted state of mind, you can use a kind-hearted state of mind in order to overcome karma, to overcome particular karma, karmas that you've done in previous life, karmas that you've done in this life.
먼저 텐데 나눠야 아니 텐데 양을 중립 고시원디 아니 펜식 내다 조식 내스 니 시고です저 답변은 아니 먼저 밀어야 끼지 아니 밀어야 끼니 밀어야 끼에 유디 미기어 펜식 내지 밀어야 끼다 미 때려야 양 배동안 바시 논데 디 용거였어 디 칼스나 아니 디 조시 미기 조바 펜바 기위 파면야 아니 뒤윤 조바디 미기 위 조바시 디 냠도 최고였어 그러
The topic of karma is also explained in the context of the 12 links of dependent arising. So in this topic of the 12 links of dependent arising, we'll look at a combination of different types of actions, like, for example, projecting karma, projecting actions, and completing karma, completing actions. So we have projecting actions that cause us to take a particular type of rebirth. Then we have completing actions that contribute to the experience that we will have in that particular rebirth. So it could be, for example, that the projecting actions, the projecting karma, was a positive one, cause us to have a more favorable rebirth. And yet it comes together with completing karma that causes the experience to be a difficult or suffering experience in that life. So this combination exists, good projecting karma together with negative completing karma.
The kerangi desina keran sonya di hizorus redas penji given pamaya zorje migi zogodoch.
And Deshana, the description that you came up with is similar to that, right? So being born in a good state of existence, in a happy state of existence, or pleasant state of existence, attributed to virtues projecting karma. And yet the completing karma that played out is non-virtues completing karma.
And I guess, people say, I've heard it said that, I like the point you made that no action or result, it goes to waste. So even though negative experience, and that was their experience, like that won't go to waste. That has purified something, and they have purified easier, rather than being reborn in a hell realm that just had a difficult death. So.
저는 이제 그런 글을 선보이라고 그래서 저 직접이나 아니 저도 이해 받고 그래서 내 좀 싸우대. Don't tell me what to do. Dila unlock 제거를 했어. 저는 그러나 네 칼라서
이제 지규다. 라야 찍바도 레스.
라 제가 내 춤이 싸우는 직시하기로 아니 미자바는 직시하러 지금 데이터가 상황 와인 나로 제가 배시 다가라 인기래서 그러니까 다들 메시지라 된데 야고 그냥 제가 채워이나 양데 저거 나 제가 레치 메바이나 양데 그래서 두셔진다고 연습을
제 디 페나 펜셰단 조식이 내니고티 아니 칠직래야 싸워요레스 라페나 아니 뭔지 setdelaya setdela pena tanjinani pena shembado chiche ani tonduma shuch ani se to che ani tinji jilaya ani tsemelaya gyoba kichini and a rabbit chonsi. Any children song drawing. The D and it said to give and be the social mom shoes lady and Migi ladies. The similar children song lady give ladies. The shook him with doggy and gave a Jamalaya and Dendrolaya, yeah, Yungures. The D and children song doggy and page give it doggy, Dendrikival pension. Har sumje mom se shaw in a pedal. Di megi viliti and setilia, Zorgel and Dujin, and Dungama Shuchik. Kazu Samba Sambuda, Kazu Yawachinia, Imigi, Le Shukcham talking, Jeremy Undi, and Tamadu Maushuch, Yondiach, Yungures.
This combination of projecting karma and completing karma can work in a variety of ways, and it can also, those actions can also be created in a single lifetime. Like, for example, imagine the following scenario. Someone might earn the livelihood being a butcher. So being involved in the killing of many living beings in the early stage of the life, but then in a later stage of the life, they generate regret for having done that. They even seek ordination, take up the practice of ethical discipline and practice it faultlessly. So when we look at this course of action, maintaining ethical discipline, pure ethical discipline at the latter part of the life constitute projecting karma, in which on that basis one will be born in a pleasant state of existence. Being born, for example, it's a human being in a pleasant state of existence, but then still the negative actions that they have done before, killing and so forth, can still result in difficulties, in problems, in different unfavorable situations in that life. The actions of killing others, of course, are non-virtuous actions, negative actions, so they do bear their effects. They can ripen in the form of a completing karma. There is a negative karma.
The Jamadilla, the leaders has a and Jamadilla, in Canada, Chevaka Mamach, and Kishadani, and Dragon Shavana, this fingers, the test draw.
So what we can do next time is, if you still have questions with respect to that, or with respect to other topics that we discussed, we can discuss them in great details. Sometimes the more questions you have, the more things you can work through. So that's a good thing to do. So we can also do that in our next meeting. And with that, maybe we'll just leave it here for now. So I'll put the dedication prayers on the screen. Sancho Rinpoche, Make Pala Kegyuchi, Geva Nyamba Mepana, Gone Gondu Bewashu, Nyudu Da Lama Sangye Dudyune, Dowa Chikyama Lupa, Deyi Salam Gurmashu. Kowe Shingang Bengang Dewa Malu Chenre Siwa Tenzin Kyangzuri Shape Sike Malu Tengyu Chachi Jangang Yahweh Tenzin Yong Pewe Chosu kowe le mong du pada sodu jikong shaten sho.
Thank you. Good night.
Before you, and since I've got Kelton here, don't forget, please, Geshe, that you said you would give some Vinaya teachings in December. Please, Geshe.
Ira chinda chini la nyama duwa 차시도 지선디 첨부 맞죠?
Yes, yes, yes.
제 등한적이 전주도 제가 너무 좋았어. 전주 때서 힘들게도 디 맞아 디 PSP 진짜 총이 개도 소리야 내가 슈치 보여나 난 팀에도 너 가디신 세로 또 너한테 소소소 비긴 되게 너무 소원해져라 야 대화해나 너 가디신 세로
So
He said there's only one of him.
one too many.
No, they were
I'm
not.
joking. Well, we came up in the morning with that idea of maybe extending the Gata Bodhisattva way of life, because it seems that we can push ahead with the text. So, if the students of the BP that are interested in the Gata Bodhisattva way of life kind of insist that we do that, then maybe we'll postpone or we'll do the Vinaya teachings later on. And in the meantime, it's good just to try as much as possible to get about.
Of course.
Yeah. So let's see how it all works out.
All right.
양아즈 드빌라즈 디 양아즈 티 and again was this to zonto na yagodos ra di 진짜 중요한 다기 담주 tinjilaya in Christmas that was changed to the place most of we had the tools chik doasta ra and the test percent of shawana was condition set.
So it's something that's good to do with the community. If the monastics here want to have Vinaya teachings, then we can all discuss and set a time to do it. So it's looking at December. Geshe reckons that some of us might have some Christmas engagements in friends, family, and so forth. So we just kind of, as a community, we need to work the time.
Yeah.
To do it, and also kind of probably put it out to the people at Brisbane. Maybe some of the monastics at Brisbane.
Right. It's just that I know we've got 5 new people.
5.
Yeah, 4 and me.
You're very
you're very old now.
I am very young, not a very young one. Not very good. I need lessons.
You've been a nun for ages.
I have more.
Long is very long. New.
Yeah, that's your name. Welcome to the nuns community. I'm pissed.
That's possible. Okay.
It just occurred to me, with the story that Geshe told about the pig.
Yeah.
Miss Piggy, she's probably
Miss Piggy.
Yeah, Miss Piggy from the from the Muppet Show. I mean, she's not a fictional person. She's a real.
She's not. She's a real person.
Yeah, she's a real person. Pigs in space.
Yeah.